Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. My name is Bree, and I'm here with my girl gang here to recap our latest Mahogany movie, Spring Breakthrough. So Dory is here. Hi, Dory. Say hello.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. Happy to be back with my girls. I missed you.
We missed you. We miss each other, okay?
I
We
know.
do.
I mean, we are on a group chat and we talk every day, but we still miss
Yeah.
talking to each other like this.
We miss having an assignment, okay?
Exactly. Yes.
Jazz is here with our nephew Miko. Hi, Jazz.
Hello. Yes, he is here. He's in the background, you guys. This is his playtime, fiasco. But we're here. I miss you ladies too. Like, this has felt like a drought, like not talking to you
I
ladies.
know.
I
We need
know.
more assignments.
Yes.
And then our fearless leader who has given me the reins today, Anne, is here. Hello, Anne.
Hi, you guys. Glad
I
to be
know.
here.
Anne's
Glad
our
to be
boss.
talking.
Yeah.
Oh gosh,
She
don't
keeps
say
us
that.
together. She's our glue, okay? She keeps us
She's the
together.
glue. Yes.
Oh,
Exactly.
well,
She had a great
that sounds
vacation
good.
because she's an amazing boss.
Yes. But you know what? Anne is like the sweet boss because she knew y'all knew, like I was going through it a couple of months ago. And I would just wake up and I would have like these sweet prayers and messages. And I'm
I
like, this is why
know.
female friendships are everything, okay?
Definitely.
It's
I
true.
know.
It's true.
Well, we've come together, ladies, to recap Spring Breakthrough, our spring Mahogany movie. So I went on Hallmark's website and the summary is like a sentence long. So a single mother, surprised by her daughter's recent engagement, travels to the Gulf shores where she finds love unexpectedly. And so
That's it.
that's it. That's literally it. So our
Wow.
cast, we have Keisha Sharp, who plays Monica, so our main character. Currently, she's playing in Power Book 2 Ghost, which I actually watched an episode of recently, and I was like, "Oh, that's our girl from Spring Breakthrough." She plays Lorenz Tate's wife, which is a gorgeous couple, and she also played in Girlfriends. So fans of Girlfriends would recognize her from that. We have Demetrius Gross, who plays Clark in the movie. He was in 6 episodes of Fear the Walking Dead and 1 episode of Lovecraft Country. We have Ryan Nicole Brown, who plays Vivian, who is the daughter of Monica. She was in 43 episodes of the show Lincoln Heights and 38 episodes of
Yes.
Period.
Empire. Yeah, and she's gorgeous. And then we have, okay, Jazz, you're going to have to say his name because I forgot how to say it already.
Aniko?
Sean, is it Akano?
Yeah, Aniko Dixon.
Yes, it plays Sean. 6 episodes of All American and 1 episode of the like life-changing show Euphoria that everybody talks about. I don't know.
Girl, I'm waiting for season 3.
I just know Zendaya, okay, and she's Zendaya. She's gorgeous. So that is our cast. So before we get into overall thoughts, I wanted to ask y'all, having watched the movie, what do you think the film set out to do, and do you think it accomplished it? Jazz, you go first.
Okay, so I just give this shout out early on. We talked about this on our last podcast about promotion, how they're pushing the movie. And let's tell you guys, since was it maybe a day before April 1st, they dropped the cover. They did a preview of the movie. I was like, okay, they're hearing us. They're pushing out the movie. Every week we're seeing updates and everything. We're getting excited. Come to find out, I'm looking at it's like, oh, it's gonna be a book version of my life, being on like, the coast. I'm sitting here like, what did I just watch? It gave me cross between Jumping the Broom and Monster-in-Law with J-Lo in it. And I'm sitting here like, oh my goodness, like Hallmark, what we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just see. I thought it was gonna be a bomb, like summer, like we're bougie, like black excellence of like our kind of people. Which actually Ryan was actually in that series with one of her with her TV mom Nadine Ellis, who was actually in the holiday stocking. By the way, you guys. So look at that. Look at these pairings happening around Hallmark universe.
Yeah.
So that is my take of what I saw. But there's more to come with this story to unfold.
Okay. And what do you think? What did it set out to do, and do you think it accomplished it?
it's hard for me to say what it set out to do, but since it's, part of Mahogany, part of Hallmark, I think it set out to be, a story about a mother and daughter relationship, but also a mother falling back in love after she's had some, we didn't know how hard it was, but some hard things that she went through. But I think it was too harsh and too dramatic. I hope they weren't setting out to be that dramatic and, intense. That's my hope. So I don't think it did well what it should have been trying to do. Maybe that's just my opinion. But yeah, I think it was just too dramatic, and like the character was very over the top. And hopefully they weren't setting out to do that. So
Yeah, we're going to get into that. We are going to get into a couple of things you mentioned, Anne. So thank you. Dory, what do you think? What did the film set out to do? And do you think it accomplished it?
I don't know what the film set out to do, and therefore I don't know if it accomplished it. I really don't know. And what I mean by I don't know is that there was so much plot in this movie, and there were so many things going on that I'm not really sure. Like, I'm not really sure there was one main overall takeaway from this movie. Like, so much happened, and we'll get into it, but there were so many different pieces of this plot that we'll have to dive into, and I'm really not sure. I'm not sure what they were trying to accomplish.
Well, we do love and respect writers here on the Hallmarkies podcast. I think I forgot we need to shout out the writer. So the writer was Samantha Herman. Now, we know now that there are contributors who have assisted with the script, but I am unable to locate any other names that we can say the name of. So, but as far as Samantha Herman, she did write Game of Love, which premiered on Hallmark this year. During the holidays, we got our Italian Christmas Memory. She wrote that. She wrote A Christmas Tree Grows in Colorado back in 2020. Since Sensibility and Snowman back in 2019. So I think a lot of like Hallmark faves Samantha has written. So just wanted to make sure that we speak the name of the writer of the movie. So there's that. I feel like, a lot of my thoughts initially were thoughts that we already covered in the last Mahogany recap that we did. I'm not a screenwriter. I'm not in that world. So I just feel like there's a lot of information that we're not privy to. I was disappointed at like seeing another script written by a white writer that was part of the Mahogany franchise. But, being educated, we know that there are Black contributors behind the scenes. So if anybody, is listening and contributed to the film and would like to reach out to us, we would love the opportunity to chat with you. There's that.
And I just want to say that if there are quote contributors or two writers, whatever we want to say, then that person should get credit for their work. Their name should be put in the movie on IMDb. I think that's not right to like supposedly go out of your way to have a Black contributor and then not give them credit. Does not sit right with me. So I do think that they should definitely have their name, put out there so
as a writer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the film was directed by Mykelti, I hope I'm saying that correct, Williamson, which he was in The Holiday Stocking. He was the brother. So, we love that movie. So
yes.
I love seeing that he was the director of this. Okay. So one thing that you touched on, Anne, that was in my notes, we are, I think, seeing more of these Hallmark movies that explore the plot lines focused on mother-daughter relationships. What are y'all's thoughts on those as a plot line? Like, do we have enough time to do those storylines due diligence? What do you think? Dory, you go first.
No, I don't think we have enough time. I don't think we had enough time in this movie because there was so much other stuff going on. And I actually would have loved to see more of the mother-daughter relationship pre engagement news. Like even if it was just a couple phone calls with them just to kind of establish like this is a really close mother and daughter. Like they are thick as thieves. They tell each other everything just so you can kind of
We have some context.
understand
Yes.
yeah, so you could understand the stakes a little bit more. And we didn't get that. Like I really felt like I was missing what was special and what was so close about their relationship. We get it later in a conversation with them, but that conversation later almost doesn't feel earned because we didn't get the
Any
like closeness
basis.
up front. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So I love that conversation that they have at the end. I'm sure we'll get into that later, but yeah, I could have used some more of their relationship earlier in the movie.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Jazz?
No, I totally agree with you, ladies. I feel as though like we were dropped in the middle of their lives in their movie, not seeing the progression of her growing up, kind of like seeing the pictures in like her house or her office, like seeing them like growing up, how tight the relationship was. She is in college, so they're not college aspect. Like I didn't feel that in the beginning of the movie versus towards the end, and I feel like we definitely need to make that connection known, especially in the beginning of the movie. And also, I would love to see males take lead as well and have that version, like either a father and son movie or some type of mother or son movie take the lead. I know we have these relationships with mothers and daughters, but I want to see a son's version of this on screen. Like we've seen these in other Hallmark movies where they have male, son actors, but I want to see that from the Mahogany brand too, because male voices need to be heard as well on in these movies, and seeing their reaction being raised either in a two-parent household or in a single-parent household, because their stories matter too. Not knocking mother and daughter relationships because those are super strong here on Hallmark Channel, but I want to see the males come out just like in the holiday stocking per se.
Yeah.
The brother died and stuff like that. He's trying to put them back together, but I want to see the male side. I want to see, if and I, if the actor who plays Sean wants to do another Hallmark movie, like I would love to see him as a lead like that.
Oh, yeah, for
Hopefully, you
sure.
never know.
Yeah, he did great. What do you think, Anne?
Yeah, I think with these movies, we only get like exactly 84 minutes, which is not a long time. And so it's really hard, I think, when they're doing all these relationships. It's usually only one relationship can kind of get the most time, then whatever else gets like secondary. And so if they wanted to be the mother and daughter as the main thing, then, they should just do it as the main one and make the romance kind of more side, because it's really hard to balance both of the things that in these movies, because there's just so much limited time.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I think in a series it's much easier to show development and growth and just the deepness of like a mother-daughter or a mother-son relationship. But yeah, in these movies it really has to be like the main relationship to I think be done well, I guess, if that makes sense.
yeah. Well, let's get into the overall thoughts of the movie before we start digging into it. So, Anne, we're already with you. What were your overall thoughts on Spring Breakthrough?
I, I just
Anne's like, "Why are you making me
I
go
know why
first?"
exactly. That's
And
exactly what I'm like.
I
Oh
can
no,
hear
I don't
it
want to
in
be
her
the big
voice.
kibosh. Oh
Okay,
god.
teacher coming in.
I
Help
can
her
hear
out, guys. Does anybody want to help her out?
Okay.
Okay. I think I struggled with this movie. I really wanted to like it. From the promos, I was excited about it. But then once the movie started, I was like, this is not what I thought I was going to be getting. And then it just made me sad. I didn't appreciate the sabotage, right out the gate, the sabotage of this mother and her just like putting all of her own drama like on her child. And that's literally when I think of this movie, I'm going to think of it as if I ever think I'm putting my own, life experience on someone else, I'm going to think of this movie and be like, you do not want to be like Keisha Sharp's character in that movie because she was so intense and unbearable. So don't you dare put all of your stuff on somebody else because that's how you're going to come off. Like that's literally what I'm going to think about because she
Yeah.
was so intense and over the top to me, and I just could not stand that she was trying to sabotage her daughter. I understand she was concerned. I understand that she, had these feelings and she, but that's just not what you do. You have to advise your daughter the best you can and then just be quiet. They have to learn themselves because you're just going to push them farther away. And
Yeah.
so I just, yeah, I couldn't root for her because I just didn't like her, until like the last, 30 minutes. So it was just, yeah, I don't know. It was a lot. I won't watch it again. So I'm sorry.
Jazz, what were your overall thoughts?
For me personally, I'm trying to be the neutral side of this whole conversation though, but
That's
let's
what I
see,
was excited for.
I enjoyed the movie. For me, as I was thinking, as Anne was talking, I feel as though, like, yes, Monica's character, was definitely, over the top. There were jokes being made on Twitter about, comparing Monica's character with Monica, from Girlfriends that she played. So she played both Monicas in life. But definitely, as I'm sitting here, listening to Monica, I'm not saying like, okay, Monica's the victim when she's not, because she didn't tell her daughter about, losing your job and all that stuff like that. On top of this engagement to a guy that she didn't get to meet yet. So I'm looking at more of like, I'm thinking about the movie now, the title is Spring Breakthrough. Maybe she was trying to break some type of generational curse that she thought that she was setting out for the next generation for her daughter, where she didn't want that to happen, but then trying to sabotage it at the same time. I'm like, I feel like it went around the wrong way in that sense. It would probably be different if it was like a 3 generational situation, kind of like in Haunted Heritage, trying to break that, cycle. But it wasn't a cycle. It was like, yeah, this is my experience. I know she didn't want to have her daughter get married young and make the same thing she was, but every child is definitely different. And, we had to, not have the expectations like, oh, she's going to do the exact thing I'm doing. She's getting married young. She's doing this. The thing about it is like, the child going to, leave the nest, she's gonna fall, she'll come back up and like, hey, I did mess up, Yeah, you tried to warn me, XYZ, but I had to make these choices. But I think it could have been done very differently in that sense. That's for me. Like, my rating for the movie, probably like a 6.5, 7, in that mindset. But
Yeah.
like, my favorite character is Denise, so I digress.
Right. Aunt Denise. Oh, this is why I just love you guys, because like you just made a point and it's like one of my notes, so I'm just going to add it into the next question. But Dory, overall thoughts?
I think for me, if there's a story like this with a quote unquote like monster in law or an in law who doesn't want the wedding to happen, that needs to be paired with comedy for
Yes.
it to work for me.
Yes.
And like
Yes.
not just like humor, but comedy, like broader
Shenanigans.
comedy. Exactly,
Yes.
shenanigans. Like I think of Monster-in-Law, like Jazz referenced earlier with J-Lo. Like there were so that movie was funny. Like there were a lot of broad comedic moments. And I even think of a movie like I think it was Ticket to Paradise, the one with George Clooney and Julia Roberts that came out,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
where they're, ex spouses and they don't want their daughter to get married. And so they're kind of going about trying to stop the
Sabotage it.
wedding. Exactly. And it's highly comical, but there are still really poignant and emotional moments. So for a story like this to work for me, it has to be paired with those big comedic performances and plot points, and that didn't happen. So from that perspective, it was tougher for me. I found that the moments that I liked the most were with Monica and Clark. Like, I loved their meet cute at the airport when she's looking at
Mhm.
books, and he ends up buying her the book because she leaves the store without it. I loved that, and I thought it was so
Girl.
cute, and all the different like golf scenes and stuff. And what I really would have loved was a movie about just them falling in love. And I know
Yeah.
it's not reinventing the wheel, but a story about this uptight, type A, super successful businesswoman who loses her job unexpectedly. She goes on vacation. She falls in love with the golf pro. Like, I know that's not reinventing the wheel,
Yeah.
but I would love to see it with a Black couple.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That would
And
have been cute.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
I would have really enjoyed that, and that's what I kind of wanted from this movie, and I didn't get it.
No.
So yeah, those are, my overall thoughts. Like, it didn't work for me overall. I thought it was really stuffed, like chock full of plot, especially when we get to the end and it's like there's a wedding, there's the scene at the club
yeah.
with
We'll
with
get to that. We
Oh
got
yeah, we'll
gosh.
get
Yeah.
there, like
we'll
with
get there,
Vivian and
girl.
Sean. So there was so much happening, and it was almost too much going
Yeah.
on.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Two conversations that I had outside the group, just like other viewers, it was like it felt all over the place. And then I went on to the Hallmark app because I was like, man, I haven't been on the actual app in a while and like browsed through reviews of the movie. So I went on there, and honestly, like the first four or five reviews that I saw, people were like, Monica was unbearable. So
I was one of those.
like,
I'm sorry, she drove me insane. I just couldn't.
And I'm not gonna lie, even on Twitter, because I was tweeting it live for the movie. Like, I remember one thread, it was going that, oh, Monica, she's a Karen. I'm like, oh my gosh,
oh god,
Wow.
yeah, it's like she's like Karen,
They
like
took
she's
it
like,
there.
yeah, they took it there. And I sat here like, you calling this black woman a Karen? I'm like, Jesus.
look.
Yeah, no. Cannot do that.
But I think at the time when I'm watching the movie, like how I referenced, like, Monster-in-Law and Jumping the Broom, I feel like they took Jumping the Broom's character, Mom, which was played by Loretta Devine, and try to make it as this Monster-in-Law situation that kind of fail because it was not a lot of humor in that sense. But I would definitely will piggyback off of you later about it should have been, Monica and Clark's movie about them falling in love, but not knowing later on their kids, Sean shows up and then he shows up later on in that same spot, like a couple of, days later because they're playing out the later or something like that. Kind of find out that they all know each other in that sense. Like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would have got that in that sense,
I mean, and we're seeing more and more wedding movies. So like Dory, you mentioned the one with Julia Roberts and George Clooney. I'm blanking on the one with J-Lo. It was like a destination wedding and like these guys show up.
I know what you're talking
Lenny
about.
Kravitz.
Yeah.
Yeah, the prime one. Like that's another somebody's trying to sabotage the wedding, essentially. But it's hilarious. And it's actually kind of suspenseful because they don't know. I just think if you're not pairing it with comedy, you just come across mean.
Yeah.
I really agree. When Dory said that, I was like, yes, that would have made it so much better if they put like a lot of comedy into it instead of just making her seem like so mean and putting all her problems on her child. It would have been like actually funny if they could have put some of that. Wouldn't have been just heavy and like feel so down, like a downer.
Yeah.
Right,
So
like there
that
would have
would have
been
been the way to do
hijinks to
it.
laugh at, like her
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
sabotage the wedding, and like her trying to recruit um her friend to, like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, to help her out. I just think it was a little bit of a missed opportunity to do that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like we say that a lot, but moving on. So, okay.
Missed opportunity.
As we chatted about before, like I'm just going to kind of recap the chunks, y'all fill in the blanks, because I was like, I watched this a couple days ago and I'm not going to rewatch it. So within the first 15 minutes, but I have notes in my phone. So I was like, we're good. So within the first 15 minutes, I think Hallmark does a really good job of like front loading a lot of information. So we see Monica get fired from her job as she's like in celebration mode, because I guess she helped like start this like a youth center from the ground up basically, and they're celebrating 20 years. But then we see her at this meeting where she's basically, it's like old versus new basically. She's not ready
Mhm.
to evolve with the time. She uses clickbaity, like, oh, your idea is kind of clickbaity, and kind of shuns this girl. And then fast forward, we see her getting fired, and we see this girl that she shunned shaking hands with her colleague and walking into the business. So it's like,
Taking her
okay,
job.
that stung a little bit. And
Mhm.
then cut to the next scene, and we learn that her daughter is engaged. So she's really in this moment of change. What were your initial thoughts on with when we met Monica? Because I mean, in that first like 15 to 20 minutes, I was like, oh man, that sucks. But then we get to the moment with Sean and the proposal and not having a ring. But we'll get to that. Initial thoughts on Monica and the whole setup. What were your thoughts? Anne, you go first.
Oh man, she's just putting me in the ringer today. Okay.
Sorry, I don't know. Your name starts with A. It's so easy. You're an A
Okay.
name.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that, they, besides, I think they could have, like, shown some stuff with her daughter and her before, so we could at least get a kind basis for their relationship. But outside of that, I think, they kind of showed, like, her and her element, but then, like, you did feel bad for her because she got fired for this, like, 25-year-old girl or something. But you're like, oh, okay, she's kind of stuck in the old ways, and she's not, like, kind of opened her mind up to the new ways in the ways of her job. Um, and so I felt bad for her. But then as soon as she's in the airport, and then, that whole thing, I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. She's been through a lot. She, is down on love, and this is where we're going. And then the phone call, with her daughter, and I'm like, okay, here we go. And then
Yeah.
it just kind of went down from there. But I did feel bad that she kind of, she's been there so long. She thought she was getting promoted, and then she just got everything ripped from under her for, someone who's like 25 years old, which would be really, really hard if that happened to me or to anyone. So
I mean, what is it with Hallmark and our girls having to lose their jobs?
I
Okay.
know.
yeah, that's true.
I
Girl, y'all
know.
getting fired. Let go. Ageism. Like, come on. Remind me of the movie. No, the series called Younger.
Yeah.
Just, everybody's losing their job on Hallmark. If you're a Hallmark heroine, you're probably losing your job. Okay.
Yeah,
That part.
that's very true. A good chance you're losing your job.
Dory, initial thoughts on Monica.
I really felt for her. But it was tough to watch her shut down that younger woman in the meeting who was coming up with these ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of sets it up for you to understand her character, who kind of thinks her way is the best way and the only way. But I still felt for her. I think that's really tough. She was under the impression that she would be like running the foundation after not much longer. So, that was a tough break for her. Um and I mean, I had some sympathy for her at the beginning, and I was rooting for her
at the beginning, you know. But that changed pretty quickly.
Jazz, initial Monica thoughts?
Oh my goodness. I'm not gonna lie. It was a class teen, young and old, and you getting fired. Like, I felt for her. I'm like, how's she supposed to support herself? She had a child in college. Like, is she paying for her daughter's, tuition too? Like, that could be a lot. Like, in that sense, like you're losing your job from a younger, you know, coworker because you're not adapting or anything. That could have been a great conversation with the boss. Like, I understand we had this meeting, though, but I want you to learn how to adapt. Or did they have this conversation before she got fired? That would have been a great insight too.
Yeah.
Up until that pivotal moment where her daughter tells her, "Oh yeah, I am engaged." That kind of like put more, I guess, fuel on the fire of her losing a job and don't know what she's gonna do next. And now this, I'm like, yeah, homegirl was stressed.
Yeah. Well, we have that moment where we see her shun the girl in the office, and then she loses the job. And then when Sean proposes, she says Vivian says something like, he's like, "Are you nervous to call your parents?" And she's basically like, "My dad's not the one I'm worried about calling." Right? So we've
Mm-hmm.
had this moment, and then we see that, and I thought that that was, like, kind of one of the strongest, like, symbolic moments in the movie of, like, I think especially our parents, and I think for us as women, it tends to be our mothers. They become the voice in our head. So I think that that was a moment where, without showing us, we see Vivian hearing her mom in her head being like, "You don't need to do this." You know? Like, that was a very, just, like, strong moment of, like, oh man, she can hear her mom talking crap in her head already, because I could. Like, there are so many life decisions that I do and don't make because I can hear my mom. I'm like, I don't want to hear my mom's crap about this decision I'm making,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
But
that
then, but then it made me wonder, like when she said that to Sean, it was like, question: did your dad meet Sean before your mom actually met Sean or had a conversation with that would kind of give me like that if of like, so you didn't like, that you didn't introduce Sean to your mom yet until like, oh, we're getting engaged. Like, she didn't know about Sean, but I'm like, did the dad know about Sean?
yeah. Yeah, true, 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 true. Well, one of the things that you mentioned, Jazz, that I had noted and skipped over was kind of about cycles repeating themselves. And this is something I think we learned throughout the movie, but it really seemed we learn eventually that Monica and Vivian's father met in college and got married and really quickly and got pregnant with Vivian. And then it didn't work. And I feel like for me, I felt like that was kind of a good, like, internal, I guess, conflict for her to have. I think I would have just liked them to explore it a little bit more, maybe have that conversation a little bit earlier. But, like, did you all get that feeling while you were watching it? Like, she's just protective of her for that reason, or what? Like, what were your thoughts as far as the repeating cycles?
That's what I thought at first. When she kept like, I guess, quote unquote, sabotaging the wedding, like not sitting them both down. Like, she didn't get a chance to know until like the middle of the movie, towards the end, Sean. But she's like, wait a minute, like, I didn't get to meet this guy yet. I'm just finding out. It was kind of like that. Oh, hi, mom. I'm here. Like, kind of like the Christmas the Cranks. Like, oh, hi, mom. I'm coming home for Christmas. Oh, here's my boyfriend or fiance scenario. And then she having these flashbacks of like, okay, if my child does this, she's gonna get married young. I'm not sure she's pregnant, because remember she had that thought in her mind too, talking to Denise. Like, is my child pregnant? And
Hmm.
I'm gonna
Hmm.
like, Hallmark, you better not do this. You better not do this. And I'm sitting here like, okay, I kind of sympathize Monica a little bit, like, because she didn't want her daughter to have the same repeat, as her and her parents, and getting divorced. But at the same time, you never know. Like, they could probably succeed and go on for 30, 40 years being married from that,
Yeah.
it's about where they're at in their lives. They're almost done with school. They're wrapping up. So, those decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I guess like here I go. I guess I'm doing the same thing she is, but because I'm putting all my own stuff on it. but, my parents, neither of their parents, supported their relationship because, at that time, when they were getting together, my mom's Black and my dad's white, and both of their parents were opposed to it. So my mom she had, I guess, a very open perspective, because she was like, I will always support you in your relationship as long as, you are in a healthy relationship where, where that person supports you and is, of course not abusive or, anything like that. She was like, I want you to know you will have my support. And she was kind of very supportive, and always, was like that. And so for me, I guess it's just kind of like crazy that because of her traumatic experience and just everything that she went through that was really hard, her mom kind of had this, she kind of was just worried about the cycle repeating. And she was just not going for any support at all. She was just so worried about, her daughter having to struggle the way she did.
Yeah.
And so I guess for me, it's just really hard to understand because my parents' experience and my experience with my mom is just so different. Because I was married very young. I was married when I was 23. My parents were married when they were 22. And so, and they had no support at all, mostly because of racism. But, so it just, I don't know, I guess this whole thing just kind of it was just kind of like against my whole, I guess, upbringing, or just so different that I was just like, gosh, that would be so horrible to just like, but I mean, yeah, I guess she didn't even know him at all, but she wasn't even like open to like getting to know him or anything. She was just from the, she had just put up this fence from the first mention of it. And that was kind of just too much for me, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Dory?
Yeah, I think it was pretty clear that she was very concerned about her daughter making the same mistakes she made, mistakes, quote unquote, because then her daughter says when they have a conversation about it, more like a confrontation about it, her daughter's like, so am I a mistake? Like, you're calling me a mistake? And I think that was a really important point, because we all make our choices in life. And is it a mistake? Like, sure, you got married young, had a daughter young, and it was tough, but there are a lot of tough things that happen in life, and something beautiful can come out of them, like your child. So I think that it was interesting that her perspective on it was, I made this horrible mistake and I don't want my child to go through that. But, that mistake, quote unquote, gave her this daughter that she is so, she is so protective of and loves so much. So I think it's an interesting kind of, and lots of people do this, right? Like, this isn't uncommon necessarily to behave that way. I think all of our parents kind of want us to avoid the things they did that they think are mistakes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's impossible. You cannot prevent your children from being hurt or doing things that might, cause them pain. That it happens. You can't protect your kids from every single thing as much as you would want to. But yeah, I definitely think that her intention in all of this was, I do not want my daughter to struggle the way I struggled and to experience the pain that I experienced. And I understand that, but she went about it in the worst possible way.
Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by W Rated, the podcast where we willingly watch the world's worst rated movies. Join me, Daisy,
and me, Claire, as we break down the IMDb Bottom 100, choosing a different film from the list every episode.
We take a deep dive into the plot, production, release, and reviews, usually with a special guest, to uncover if these films are truly as bad as everyone says they are.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, and anywhere else you find your podcasts.
Was looking up online. I'm like, what's the percentage of people that meet in college and get married? So like it said, I found like a brides.com. It's like only 2% of all marriages in the United States are between two people who met on college campus. So it's like, okay, so they're like a pretty slim number here, Sean and Vivian. And then it said less than 2% of all marriages in the United States are between college sweethearts, highlighting that while many college students may find themselves in relationships, the chances of those relationships lasting into marriage are slim. I was like, okay, so this is where maybe Monica is coming from. Like, these don't tend to last. But the article also mentioned that a lot of college students are having fun. You know, they're hooking up. They may be in relationships, but it's not serious relationships, but
Yeah.
they're considering marriage. So we see Sean propose, and like another, I think my highlight of like the first chunk of the movie is that Monica trips because she finds out that Sean proposed without a ring. Symbolically, I guess, like, how do we feel about the proposal with no ring? I was like, girl, they're seniors in college. What do you expect him to do? What do you think, Dory? You go.
I think it's kind of an old school mentality, but it does make me laugh because I can totally see my mother saying, like, yeah, if there's no ring, that proposal doesn't count, girl. You know, so I think it's kind of an old school old school thinking. But I had to laugh because I was definitely like, yep, that's something my mother would say.
Yeah. In the moment, he's just like, I love you so much. Please be my wife. But I don't have a ring yet. What do you think, Jazz?
Oh my goodness, it is an old school thing. You know, you get a day like, you know, a Cracker Jack's box and she got that ring, or do like a little Norbit moment where you get the little ring pop situation. But I think when I was watching the movie as well, not only like that ring was symbolic because you saved that much, you don't have like a small ring and then you upgrade it to the ring that she wanted. It was more so also the blessing as well, because not only did Monica not meet Sean, like he didn't come to her like, you know, for her, you know, quote unquote blessing. Like, yeah, I got to meet you. I want, you know, you get my blessing to marry my child. You
Yeah.
know, and
Which
I
I'm
think
so
those
glad that you said that, because I feel like this entire movie is a clash of generations,
Yeah.
because
Mm.
I think that is a very traditional thing that we expect, and I just wonder how long it's still going to be a thing of like somebody reaching out to a parent and asking permission. Like, I don't know really which side I sit on of it. Like, sure, it's sweet and it's great to know that you did that, but like, do we expect that to continue to be the expectation or the tradition?
That could be true. Kind of depending on some family, they want to meet that person, like, you know, get to know you. Like, I want to give you my blessing. You know, maybe it could have been like that like during a dawn time where a man comes up to, you know, a family, I want your daughter. You know, because I thought it was like prize worthy, or she was the best cook, or she was this to the family's asset. Where, okay, I give you my blessing. You know, kind of like dowry situations, but the fact that they want to get to know people, like, hey, I have my blessing for you to be with my child for the rest of your life. We're going to be this family. But I think mostly everything was more of a shock for Monica's sake. But for me, it's like, you give me like a little baby ring, you know, like you put your heart and soul, like, I'm saving up. Like, this is a ring right now, but I'm going to save up, you know, to get your dream ring. Like, okay. That what Vivian said. Like, I want my dream ring.
Yeah. I mean, when I was like looking into kind of like the history of the engagement ring, and it goes back to like ancient Rome, and it's an ownership thing. So I'm like, this is something that has obviously evolved with time, but like we have put our ideas and traditions onto it. But really, where it starts from is, yeah, this man now claims ownership of this woman. That's what this ring symbolizes or whatever. So it's interesting. I don't know.
I think which you guys might not know. Maybe you do know. Maybe it's like so obvious, and I just don't realize because I'm myself. But I'm a pretty traditional person. So I guess, I mean, because literally my husband proposed to me a month before he graduated from college. So I guess to me, I guess I don't know. Like, it's weird because it's like I think I don't know. If my daughter was telling me, I wouldn't want her to tell me that the guy didn't have a ring, because I'd be like, okay, how much has he thought about this? How committed is
Yeah.
he?
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
sounds kind of romantic on the spry. But at the same time, it's like, has he really thought this through? Like, was this just spur of the moment? So it's kind of hard, because I
Yeah.
feel like if it was my daughter, I wouldn't want her to tell me that. And I'd be like Dory's mom, because I'm old school. I'd be like, because really inside, I'm like 50. So I'd be like, what are you talking about? He didn't have a ring. Like, yeah, he should have been saving. Like, he should. And like, my ring is the same ring I had, when I was, that I got engaged with. It's definitely not, it's not a whole carat. It's, just a very simple ring. Which I'm totally fine with. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm pretty old school, so I'd probably be
Yeah.
like,
I think
yeah, I'd probably want to see that. But
my mind would go to, okay, I don't know this guy. Like, is he like a serial rapist on campus? My mind would go totally dark. Like, no, I need to meet this guy first.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would definitely, if I was my daughter, I'd definitely want to meet the person, and I would hope she would say they had a ring. But I would try to be open and at least meet the person and try to go in the open.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would definitely think, don't be like Monica. So then that would probably help me to inspire me to be better.
Well, Well, we touched briefly on Monica's meet cute with Clark, which was in the airport while browsing books. I think we all agree that that was really cute, right? We enjoyed that meet cute.
Sure did.
And this is, I mean, the engagement is really like the vehicle that got the rest of the plot moving. So let's talk about Monica meeting her introduction with Sean, because I think for me, that was the moment that I was like, okay, I was feeling really bad for you like 3 minutes ago, and now I don't know how I feel about you. So awkward AF. What
Oh
did you all
my
think of the
gosh.
introduction with Sean? Like, he goes to give her a hug, she sticks out her hand to shake. I think like she's like, you can call me like Mrs. and her last name, versus like just totally puts like standoffish. Like, what did y'all think? Jazz, what did you think of the introduction with Sean?
Child, I told y'all, I feel like I was watching Jumping the Broom, and she's meeting like Paula Patton's character for the first time. I'm like, ooh, because she's like, I don't know you. Like, I'm like, dang, like, there's some people out there like that. Like, you can call me Mrs. Sutton. Like, I don't know you to call me by my first name yet, but I think she's kind of still salty about finding out, one, her daughter got engaged to this young man. Two, I don't even know this young man. You haven't mentioned any conversations, phone calls, emails, texts up until this point of time. Three, she's still talking about her job situation. I'm like, but I feel like we haven't, you know what, as the future generation coming up, we gotta do better with, meeting people and talking to people, like having these conversations.
Yeah.
Because it could have been way better, like, oh, hi, my name is, Miss such and such, but I am Monica, and I get to know you more to transition. Like, not be like a meanie about it.
The more that we talk about it, I'm like, is Vivian the villain of the story? She's the one calling all this ruckus. Okay, Dory, what were your thoughts on the introduction with Sean?
So awkward. It was so awkward. The way she, dodged that hug, and
Man.
I mean, she just was so cold. She wasn't even trying. She was peppering him with those questions and wasn't even letting him answer. It was
This ain't no 50
just
Cent 21 Questions song.
I know. It was a lot. It was a lot. I was just cringing.
Anne, what did you think about the introduction with Sean?
So I just felt so bad for him. I'm like he hasn't even done anything. Like, okay, yeah, he proposed to your daughter, but like, you need to give him a chance. Like, you're just so, like you said, so cold and just so like abrupt and just like on guard. And I was like, oh, this is not good. And you could tell he was just like kind of taken back, like, oh, this is how this is gonna be, and I felt so bad for him because I was like, he hasn't done anything. Like,
Other than
Sean
propose
is
to
the
your
innocent
daughter.
person. Yeah,
Yeah,
Sean is the
yeah.
innocent person in this whole movie. Like, he was just there, being a college-educated young man, black man at that, find the woman of his dreams to propose. And honestly, he got sidetracked because maybe Vivian didn't have that real conversation with her mom. Like, hey, I met this guy a couple of months ago. Like,
Right.
I'm really
Why
into
hasn't
him.
Vivian told her mom?
I just need to
Yeah,
know.
that is weird that she never said anything about him at all. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think goes back to Dory's point earlier. We needed more context. We needed more of an understanding of their relationship. Do they not have
Right.
that mother-daughter relationship where they openly discuss the relationships that they're in? If not, got it. But like, we needed that context because I was like, girl, you ain't told your mom you've been dating this guy. Like, you were literally
I
a senior in
know.
college, very grown
I
woman.
know.
Well, at the same time, like, I feel like that, but then I'm kind of like, well, she said her mom, like, basically doesn't date. So her mom's never talking about dating.
True.
So did she not feel comfortable, or she knows how her mom feels about relationships? So she just didn't feel comfortable talking about it. Maybe that was what it was.
Right.
Because she basically
Yeah.
said, Mom, you never date anybody. When was the last time you blah, blah, blah.
Ooh, I
And
felt
so
that
maybe
bird.
she just, maybe this was like a topic they didn't talk about because she didn't feel comfortable, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, they also then have that conversation when they're going to get pedicures where her friend is bringing up all these relationships that she
Yeah.
had.
Filling out the tea, girl. I
And
was like,
yes, just like putting her business on Front Street in front of her mom, and her mom knew nothing. Like, she knew
Yeah.
about none of these guys. So it does make me think that she probably was very cautious about what she shared about her mother with regard to relationships. But the wild thing about that is, it's like, so you know how she's going to act when she finds out you're engaged. If you know how she feels
Yeah.
about getting married young and getting into serious relationships young, her mom is probably like, focus on yourself, get a good job, like, worry about yourself, romance can come later. If you know she feels that way, then you know she is not going to handle this situation well.
Yeah.
And it also feels like she didn't prep Sean enough. Like, if that was
She did
me, I'd
not.
be like, look,
Yeah.
let me
Yeah.
out there
So
to
right,
dry.
Dory.
I would be like, look,
The last thing we're going to
her.
do is bring my mama down here
Yes.
right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And be like, take none of this personally. She's had her own love trauma. It's not
Right.
about you, but
Right.
she's not going to be
Mhm.
nice to you or welcoming because she's very concerned about me repeating her. Like, he needed a whole debrief.
Thank
A
you.
whole debrief. Yes.
Thank you.
You are not the person she needs to meet right now, okay?
Yeah, absolutely not.
And the way that Monica was sounding, it was more like she still didn't get that closure from
Her-
Vivian's dad at this
Yeah.
moment. I'm sorry, I almost called him Martell Williams.
Yeah. Which I think is like, I think that it really did kind of show, when you step back and think about it, kind of the complexities of mother-daughter relationships, because Vivian being protective of her mom's feelings, is that her responsibility?
Come on.
Yeah, that's a good
Reach.
question. I don't think it is her responsibility. I mean, that's just me. From all the stuff I learned about therapy, like, that's not her responsibility.
Yeah.
Her mother's responsible for herself and her own feelings, and Vivian's responsible for herself and her own feelings. But boy, she was trying to protect her and just kind of, think about her mom's feelings, I think.
Yeah. And I think it was a clash between, I've always, like, okay, because like that, the scene that y'all mentioned with the friend, like going through this list of guys that Vivian's dated, that's become her family. That's become the person she can go to and have that conversation. And I think we get like two scenes in the movie where it shows like she's more comfortable talking about this life stuff with her friends than her mother, because
Right.
she knows, like, my mom, and I think y'all are totally right. Like, it goes back to the fact of like, my mom doesn't date. She's not out there like that. And like, I just don't feel comfortable having conversations about my love life with someone who her priority is work. Her priority is work. It's me, whatever. But it also comes to a point where it's like, you should be able to have those conversations with her. Like, it's not necessarily your job to protect her
Mhm.
feelings over like the
Mhm.
things that she doesn't want, she chooses not to partake in, you know? But
Right.
then it's also like, are you giving her the chance to listen? Like, has she ever said, I don't want to hear about that girl? Like, I just think we needed a little bit more to understand.
Yeah. Mhm. I agree.
So one thing that I appreciated was the conversation. So, okay, I think we're like in the middle of the movie now. So, Monica and Clark are hanging out and they're having a conversation about marriage being work or fun. And I really appreciated that. Monica, of course, believes marriage is work, while Clark believes relationships should be fun. And this shows, I think, the wonderful contrast between their relationship, which I told y'all, she said something to Clark that hurt my feelings. Okay. She was like, she calls him a like overgrown teenager on a perpetual vacation. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
um
Yeah.
thoughts on like relationships in general, and especially now, I feel like 2023 are our thoughts. I mean, obviously, I think relationships are definitely work, but I feel like people are really adamant about like we should be having fun together. So what do y'all think? Anne, you go first.
Okay, I'm actually ready for this one. Okay. I think okay, so I think that in Sweeter Than Chocolate, when they had that quote when they talked to the married couple and they were like, tell us, like what it takes to have a good relationship. And she was like, the wife was like, well, it takes work. And the husband was like, and it's fun. And the wife is like, after the work. And I think that's kind of what it is. I think it's a lot of work. I think it's a lot of work to build a good relationship when then you can enjoy and have fun, but you have to know how to communicate and how to fight in a healthy way and how to compromise and how to do all these things so that you can be in a healthy relationship to enjoy and have fun. And I think that's what people don't like. I think people don't like work, but you have to do the work to have the fun. So it's
Yeah,
super complicated. So that's just my opinion. But yeah.
very, very true. Dory, what do you think?
I agree that you do have to put in the work to have fun, but I feel like when a relationship is starting out,
Yeah.
it should be fun.
Yeah.
And I think that she really needed some lightness in her life. And I do feel like sometimes when you feel like everything is too heavy, it can help to be playful and have fun. And obviously, things can't always be fun and games all the time, but I think there has to be a healthy balance. And I think what she kind of saw as a negative, like him really focusing on enjoying his life, really is something that could have helped balance her out. And in the end, I think maybe they would really balance each other out. And I think you need both. And I think it's unfair to call someone an overgrown teenager. You don't really know this man, first of
Girl.
all. Like, let's
Yeah.
start
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
You don't know this man. You don't know his past. You don't know his history. You don't know what he's been through. I think that's a nasty thing to say upon,
She's a mean girl,
barely
Dory.
knowing
She's a mean
someone.
girl.
100%. Like, that is a nasty thing to say. And it's full of assumptions. And yeah, not a fan. And to be so free with your words about someone when you have just met them, the judgments, it's just out of control. God forbid this man enjoy a little golf now and then. Like, what are we talking about
Yeah.
here? It
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
lot.
And I think going back to what we talked about earlier, if we if this movie was funny, I mean that still would have stung, but I feel like rom-coms tend to have like those jabs, and I would have been like, "Okay, that sucks," but it wouldn't have felt as mean as it did in this movie. It was just mean
Yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jazz?
Well, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. Number
Hmm.
two, we're adults now. Where we were kids, we couldn't afford the things of our lives of teenagers. So as adults now, we can go to box lunch, we can go to Disneyland and buy what we want to buy. Okay? If I want to play golf, I want to play golf. Even
Say
though
it.
my cousin
Say
tried
it.
to do it my freshman year of high school, which I did it one time and like that was not my life. But definitely we have to also watch, how we talk to not only men, but also women as well, how words can sting. And the thing about this is that was really hurtful, especially to a male ego.
Yeah.
And also, not only that, a black man's ego. Like, he's a fun person. Maybe
They don't get to just have joy all the time, okay?
right, right. And let me tell you this: I wish that we had more content behind. Not well, I know it's a 2-hour movie, but a little bit more of an insight of Monica and her ex-husband's relationship. They were co-parenting after their divorce, but want to know what happened to that spark of, did they used to have fun? Did they used to, be in love, and all of a sudden they just got divorced, after the whole rushing of the marriage and everything?
Yeah.
What was that like prior to? What was her dating life prior to? Like, yeah, she didn't date, but how was her dating life before she met, Vivian's father? Was that the only man she ever met? Like, those are questions I would love to have, and then get her, opinion on that. But for Vivian Thomas, yeah, she was probably I think the writing of it all was like they was trying to make it stick as a joke, but it was low key an insult.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies. Well, the middle of the film, I think we get a lot of like Monica and Clark hanging out, but we also have those moments where, oh gosh, another moment that stung was there was a venue that Vivian was interested in using, and then we see Monica call the venue her daughter's interested in and having the wedding at, and telling them, if she calls you, tell her you don't have any availability. And it's luckily Aunt Denise that's like, I can't believe you just did that.
Yeah.
So I wanted
Call
to
her out.
Yes, I was so proud of her. I was like, thank God we had her here.
We need more Aunt Denise's in
We
our lives.
need more of that for sure.
She's my best friend in my head.
Let's chat. I feel like we've kind of done it a lot of justice already, but chatting the monster-in-law / the I hate saying unlikable heroine, but I can't really think of anything else. So when we are given a movie and we're following like our main character, the person we're introduced to in the beginning is the person who you tend to like just automatically sympathize with. But when they're kind of unlikable, how do you think the film balanced Monica's shenanigans with her blooming romance? But before we like even get into that, like, how do we do the monster-in-law, the unlikable heroine? Like, how do we do that in these movies that, like, what'd you say, Anne? They're like 84 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
How do we turn them around and it be believable by the end of the movie? And especially when we're like, there's a romance in there too. So like, she's kind of unbearable, but there's also like, in the end, she's going to get her happy ever after. How do you balance that to where it's like you are deserving of sweet Clark over here? What do you think? Jazz, you go first.
Girl, I'm still trying to figure out this answer. I'm like sitting here like, man, cause like honestly, there was like 2 huge fires. Like, the sabotaging of the wedding of her daughter and her new fiance, to the sabotage with Clark. It's like everything in her life that started to come together, she's sabotaging.
Yeah.
Because maybe she doesn't want happiness. Maybe in her mind, like, she was used to just going to work, making other families happy with what her situation was, and not looking for love or in that sense. But I feel like it could have been better, to not make her this type of, mean spirited, like, love sucks. Like, we get that, okay? We could have had a Valentine's Day movie on that. But for this particular movie, I felt as though like she got hit with a lot of things, and all she sees is everything going into flames. And to me, it's like, and then she being mean spirited about. I'm like, that's not cool at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is why we got to have other writers in the room, not contributors, other writers to write better content, better, verbiage in creating these characters.
Yeah. I mean, because like everybody can't be the nice girl, right? Like that would get boring eventually if everybody was a nice girl. But like, how do we do the mean girl? Or not even, I guess she was mean. So I'm just going to leave it at that. That's just my opinion, you guys. Listeners, hit us up. Let us know what you think.
She had like part of her had like a soft spot, but it was everything was covering this exterior being like a mean person because she didn't want to get hurt again.
Yeah, true.
I think we cracked it. I think
so. How do we do that in 84 minutes? So I guess my question, like, what do you think?
Well, give her 20 minutes to be rude, soften her heart up again. Like, shoot, I'm ready to marry Clark when he proposed to her in the airport.
You can't rush it at the end, though. We can't rush it at the end. So, like, how do we do it?
Rushed.
How do we do it? So, what do you think, Anne? How do we do the mean girl in 84 minutes?
I think it's all about the pacing, and I think she was too mean too long in this movie. So I think you have to kind of like let her like be, mean for a certain amount of time. I don't know how long. The maximum like 40 minutes. And then you have to see some softening up so that it's believable when she's like transforms into like a better person. Because it was like the last 30 minutes. And so it wasn't believable because she went from like so mean to like so understanding you can get married in 2 hours. Like that is not believable. Like, so I think it has to be done like paced really well. And you just, because it's like we're watching Hallmark. Like we don't want to watch a mean person for an hour and 15 minutes. Like, it needs to be like 40 minutes at the maximum. Maybe if this is like a movie that's going to be nominated for an Oscar, it can be the whole time, whatever. But it's like, no, like the person can't be mean for that long because we want to root for the person. But it's like we need to see some growth that like is paced where it makes sense and is believable.
Yeah.
So she was just too mean too long.
I read a romance a couple months ago and it followed a reformed mean girl. And when I talked to the author about it, like in the book, she still had her moments where like the mean girl would try to pop out or whatever. And she would like catch herself. And she's like, it's something that takes a lot of time, like to work through and process. She's like, you don't just kind of stop being a mean girl. So I wonder if maybe if they would have written Monica from the perspective of like, maybe she went to therapy and she was really working on her past issues or something, like maybe it would have worked. Because I feel like you said, Anne, like the pacing I think is so important when you're going to go that route, but also it's how believable is it for us to be like, okay, like 30 minutes ago you were evil and now you're super nice. Like I just don't know. I don't know. What do you think, Dory? How do we do the mean girl in 84 minutes?
I think there was a lot of stuff in this movie that maybe could have been dedicated to her redemption, quote unquote. That was time that was dedicated to other stuff. Like, do we need the scene at the club with Sean?
No.
Like, do we need that conflict?
Bye.
Do we need Like, do we need the wedding at the end? It could have resolved without a wedding. That seemed like a lot. Even some of the scenes with her and Clark, did we need that many with them? Like, I did enjoy seeing them kind of getting to know each other and falling in love. But at the same time, it's like, if the focus of this movie is on Monica coming to terms with her daughter's relationship, then the romance is kind of a side story. And so maybe you have to dedicate some of that time with Monica and Clark on her getting to know Sean or having more heart-to-hearts with her daughter or getting to know Sean's family. Like, I think there was too much plot, and it made it hard to really have that Monica redemption that we all wanted. You kind of have to pick, I think, because these movies are so short, you kind of have to pick what your focus is and really dedicate, your time and storytelling to that and then let a side story be a side story. That's what I kept thinking throughout the movie. I'm like, what else are they going to throw in here? When they got to the club and it was the Sean dancing with that other girl, I was like, okay, so what else are they going to throw in here? And then to my surprise, it
Girl,
was the
I was
wedding.
like,
Okay.
we did
So
not need that. That was
not at
That was
all.
So
so
that was
unnecessary.
lazy conflict. I don't like external conflict. It's
okay.
stupid.
So basically, I was on Twitter live, and me and the Hallmark girls,
Thank you for
all the
showing up,
Black queens
Jazzy.
out
Thank you
there.
for showing up.
I was showing up. So basically, all of us were sitting in the same room. We went back to basically 1997 to the movie Soul Food.
Oh
Being in the
God.
movie.
No.
Yes, so we all had the meme of Bird, Leah Long playing Bird, saying, "This is supposed to be my wedding day." We're in the same boat. Like, no, I'm like, no, he's not trying to be limb on the damn floor with some girl, and we're looking like, where's Big Mama at? Like, where is she? Because literally, I was like, this is some Big Mama like soulful situation happening. Like, please tell me this is not real. Because let me tell you something. Before that scene happened, when like Clark and Michael on the dance floor, that was so bomb. Like, it was like the chemistry, the flirting. We were there. We were about to get that kiss. And
That was my favorite fashion moment, I will say, is her outfit in the club scene.
Girl, till they broke it up like, oh, let's pop in on their kiss. I'm like, you ruining a perfect kiss that could have happened. Because mind you, everyone watching them on the dance floor like, this is getting spicy.
Yeah,
that was a good moment. I like that.
And then it was ruined.
And then it was just ruined so abruptly. I was like,
yeah, I wanted to giggle with the kiss. I wanted to giggle. I was like, they kiss, and then it goes back to the table like, yeah.
the whole dance thing was just. I was like, girl, you're right there. Like, I don't know. I get it. It probably stings to see your man dancing with somebody else, but he knows you're right there. I really liked his reasoning that we get later on. He's just like, I'm just so happy right now that I just want everybody to be happy. And I'm like, oh, that's actually really sweet.
I know.
Maybe I'm a sucker. Okay, so it boils down. So we're kind of in the last chunk of the movie, obviously. So everybody knows she's not filling the wedding. And it gets down to Vivian. She tells her mom, if you want, you can skip the whole wedding. And I was like, this needed to happen. And it comes down to Sean. Like, Sean has a conversation with Monica, which I felt like it had to come down to Sean having a conversation with Monica. How do you think, and Jazz, thank you, you're the one who told us, like, we need to talk about this. How do you think Sean handled that conversation with Monica? And why do you think that conversation had to come from him? Jazz, you go first.
Honestly, like, I feel like this part was written by the contributor of the movie, because not only was this conversation was very important, it was the way that it was handled. It wasn't handled nasty, negative, trash talking Monica. Also, because Clark was there too, because if he did go that way, Clark would have stepped in real quick and checked him on site. But I love the fact that he talked to her in a mature, adult way, gave his concerns without disrespecting her as a Black woman, to his future wife. And I'm sorry, I'm crying right now, because the way that he did it, he was brought up in a way like to respect your elders, but also get your point across correctly without being negative and nasty to a Black woman.
Yeah.
And I think that contributor who wrote those lines, because that was very important, because I did not want to see a Black man not only disrespecting a woman, but also a Black woman in that sense. And that was taking especially good care in that scene.
Yeah, for
100%.
sure. Yeah, I think that scene just shows that you're only hurting your daughter. Because if you don't give us your blessing, I'm choosing to not go through with this, because I know deep down she's going to want you to be there.
Yeah,
I thought, that was like probably like the strongest moment, I think, of the movie for me. I don't know. What did you think, Anne?
No, I agree. I thought that moment was like a perfect moment. Like it needed to be done. He needed to do it. He needed to say like your daughter needs your approval. I want your approval because, I'm going to hopefully, be around you and you're going to be my family for the rest of my life. Like we want you to be on board with us, And I thought he did do it very respectfully, but also like this is serious. Like we have to like get to this point and make sure it's out there and that so we can move forward and figure out what we're going to do. So I thought that was probably the best scene in the whole movie. I mean, that was like a scene that was like, I have no problem with this scene. This is a great scene.
Yeah.
So
What about you, Dory?
I really thought that it was an important scene, and I thought he did a really good job of standing up for himself, but still being respectful. And he needed to stand up for himself and for his relationship and for Vivian. And I think he did a really admirable job with that in what was a really delicate situation, and a very complicated situation too. So good job.
I mean, because
Good
at this
job
point
to
he
Sean.
did redeem himself. He got her a ring, which I have to note again. The first person that she wants to go show is her BFF and not her mom, who is sitting right there and watching.
Yeah,
literally
brutal.
3 feet away.
Man.
Brutal.
So, well, this all leads us to the ending. We have
What moment?
We have a beachside
okay.
wedding, and we have Monica getting Clark.
Okay,
What are your
before
thoughts
this
on the
wedding-
ending?
Okay, before this wedding situation, can we just the fact that they're playing Texas Hold'em and not spades? We were all talking about this on Twitter. Like, how you gonna sit here with a black family playing Texas Hold'em without playing no spades? And my
Go
quote on
back
Twitter
to the writer of the movie that is listed. Okay, I'm just saying.
because we were going in on that scene. We were like, hold up, we are black. Like, we can play some spades. I was like, maybe they want to see black folks fighting over books on television, or at least play some dominoes. Something.
That was a small detail that slid through
That
the
was a
cracks.
choice. Like Dory said, that was a choice.
That was a choice. But it was a detail that slid through the cracks that none of the contributors had the chance to catch. That's what we're going to say.
Okay.
But yeah, so I looked up and I was like, oh, we are having a wedding on the beach, which it was stunning. But what are y'all's thoughts? Let's wrap it up with the ending. What were our thoughts? Dory, you go.
Well, that wedding was unexpected. And I texted the group and I was like, why am I watching a wedding right now?
You did.
Like,
you did.
I was baffled. I was completely baffled. Also, did you guys I felt like that poor Vivian was looking stressed and overwhelmed the whole time that wedding was happening. And like, I know that she wanted her dad there, and that's what they were kind of trying to set up, that she really wanted her dad there, but she wasn't going to say it. But I was like, does this baby even want to get married right now? Like, what is happening?
It's been a lot for Vivian these past couple days.
I know.
She was obviously mad at first at Sean, like, talking about, like, I want to get married, like, because he told her we can wait. Because remember, she was stressed about getting into law school. Like, wait, why are you changing your plans, stuff like that? Like, no, I'm gonna follow where you're going. Like, I'm gonna, he even had like a little like, business proposition to Monica, like, hey, whenever grad school she's going to, I'm gonna set roots at that city to do the accounting thing. I was like, this brother was trying to like, he was on top of his stuff.
Yeah.
If I had a kid, you can marry Sean.
Yeah, but I was also kind of annoyed with him because I was like, all right, you had this plan, but you weren't going to verbalize this plan. And you see that Vivian is all stressed out and you were never going to have a conversation with her about like, actually, no, don't worry. I have a plan for us. That bothered me too. But I felt like the wedding was unnecessary. I felt like it was too much in a movie that was already like chock full of plot points.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, rewrite it, Dory. How would you rewrite it? How do we end the movie?
I mean, they're just engaged. I don't think that there needs to be a wedding. And I think that if this movie is about Monica and you have redeemed her and you want her to have her happily ever after too, maybe it ends with her and Clark being together and that's how you wrap it up, and it's not about the kids and their wedding.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this movie, if this movie was supposed to be about Monica, right, and her growth and her development throughout the movie, then why couldn't it be at the end? Why couldn't they wrap it up with her and Clark? Like, I don't know. I just didn't think the wedding was necessary. I think they could have just wrapped up that conflict with Sean and Vivian about what happened at the club and about what, you know, his accounting business and what he was going to do. And they could have just been like, you know, happy and engaged, and we leave it open ended.
Yeah.
I don't think there needed to be, I don't think that Monica needed to redeem herself in that way, like by putting on a wedding for her daughter. I thought it was too much. It was too much. You go from adamant that your child is too young to get married to, in the space of a long weekend, setting up their wedding on the beach. Completely unbelievable and completely unnecessary.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Jazz, what about you? What are your thoughts? And if you rewrite it, how are you rewriting the ending?
I would do this. Instead of a wedding, I would have an engagement party. An engagement party. And then her dad does show up. We're calling him Montel Williams from the 90s. That what he looked like to me. Girl, Monica has some fine men, past and present. That has to be known, you guys, on the podcast. But no, I would definitely make that as an engagement party, because I think in the dress that she found at, you know, they were shopping after they reconciled, after that conversation they both had, that personal one-on-one conversation, which was actually, you know, key moment in that movie as well. I thought that would be the dress for like an engagement party dress, like, you know, somebody you wear white engagement party dress. You know, I thought that would be cute. And then they could have wrapped up that way with, you know, the kids. No, the kids at the end, how they were speaking and stuff. That would have been perfect. Not like have the wedding. Yeah, she definitely was stressed, but it should have been an engagement party that she planned to say I'm sorry, and she falls in love with Clark. They kiss. They come up with they're both their own ideas for a nonprofit or a business, and they're working together now. And it will end up with a Spring Break 2 Part 2, where we're interacting with them with a wedding with Vivian and Sean. And then they go about what they're doing and stuff, and that's how I would have saw it.
Yeah. Anne? What are your thoughts on the ending? And if you were to rewrite it, how would you rewrite it?
Yeah, I agree. I just think the wedding, like going from, your child's too young, this is the biggest mistake of your life, to like, you can get married today. Like that's, no one believes that. That's just not real. So I think that it kind of just should have ended, like, it kind of showed like she was trying to reach out to Sean. She was like, hey, you want to play this card game? And she kind of said like, I think Sean's a good guy, to her at one point when they were talking about, you know, what had happened the night before or whatever. And I think she just kind of could have ended with saying, you know, like, I'm so sorry that, you know, I came here and I was trying to sabotage your wedding. But, you know, I see that Sean is, you know, this kind of good person. I see that you know, love him, and just kind of end it with that. And then like her and Clark get together and they have this career thing they're doing together. And like, that just be it. Like, it didn't need to be like, you know, like a wedding. I was so shocked. I was like, what?
Yeah.
He gets married right now? And then also, like, I had talked with Rachel about this. I thought it was so odd that they put the veil in front of her face. I just thought, you don't do that. Like, maybe if you never kissed the person before, you do that, but people don't do that in, you know, 2023. Plus, this is a movie. We want to see her face, which is one of the things Rachel said. And it's like, yeah, we want to see her beautiful face, but she's like all covered by this, you know, this veil. So that was a weird choice to me, that they did. That just, I don't know, that was odd.
I know. I mean, I thought that whole wedding was just I was laughing. Like, I was truly laughing while it was happening because I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And I really wish they would have just ended it with, you know, with Clark, with them having their moment and the wedding, but the wedding part not happening beforehand, you know? Like,
Yeah.
they had that argument. about whatever. She said, not even an argument. She was like, I can't do this. I'm not ready. She could have come to her senses and they could have had a lovely moment at the beach. And that would have been that. Like, the wedding part just really threw me. It really threw me. Like, just when I thought there couldn't be more plot in this movie, there's a full-blown wedding, a whole wedding, as Bree texted me. She said, "Girl, a whole wedding." I couldn't believe it. I can't get over it. There was too much. There was just too much.
Yeah.
No, I like I said, it should have been an engagement party, because they didn't get an engagement party. They had like a dinner with like the family and stuff, because vacation Denise. But other than that, it honestly should have been a gift where, okay, so you guys are engaged, you guys are about to graduate and stuff. Like, you came on a spring break being engaged to married. Like, really? But honestly, it should have been an engagement party. Say, okay, I know you're getting married soon, you're going to finish college, you're going to go to law school. Take the time you need and let's plan this wedding at the dream, place you wanted to plan it for a small engagement type of thing. But it really should have been an engagement party, like celebrating her, the dress that they found together in that sense, and in that perfect way.
All right.
I know, or even sorry, I just had one more idea when Jazz was talking. Like, it might even be nice if they held the ring part until the end, and they get to kind of like reenact the proposal with Monica there.
I love that. Yeah,
and they get the ring, and it like is a nice full circle moment of, she was saying, she was hating because there was no ring, but now there's a ring and she accepts it, and both of their families are there, and the dad could have still come out for it. I think that would have been a really nice thing to do in place of a wedding. And then Monica and Clark have their moment where we wrap the movie up and they get their, happily ever after.
Yeah.
That would have been good.
We are the true writers of this story. Like, we are more than
I feel like we say this every episode. Like, just hit us up, okay? Well, let us be contributors on the next one. Well, what are our hopes for the summer movie? Like, I'm assuming and hoping we're going to get a summer movie. What are our hopes? Because as a viewer, I mean, we're going to show up regardless of what our thoughts are of the movies. We're going to still show up. But to be honest, in my personal opinion, Spring Breakthrough and Nashville Legacy, while stunning cast members and I think like fantastic, the acting was great, they were kind of let down movies. So like, what do we hope we get in the summer movie?
I hope we get authentically, not contributors, authentically writers from the Black experience being there at the table with their name in black and white on credits, not as contributors in like, invisible ink type of way. I want to see laughter. I want to see fun rom-coms. I want to see them actually fall in love without any major drama that shouldn't be unnecessary, like our counterparts. And I want to see us in summertime somewhere else, either at Jamaica somewhere, like somewhere where we can have fun, trying new things, like, and just, falling in love, okay? I want to see us fall in love in not negative ways.
I love it. Okay.
Yes.
All right, Anne, what's your hope for the summer movie?
Yes, my hope is the same. Fun, light, light. Can I emphasize that enough? Light and fun. Black people just falling in love, having fun. Like, none of this heavy, like, stuff that, traumatic stuff or just this super heavy struggle stuff. Like, just people, like Black people, written by a Black writer, just having fun in a beautiful place, falling in love together. But it's really not that hard. They're making it way too complicated. We want it to be much more simple.
Get scripts that are funny.
Yeah, yes.
Dory, what do you think?
Yeah, I just want a rom-com. Like, I just want a fun, funny, romantic story. Less plot, less drama. I would love to just see something, like Anne said, light and fun. I think that's something we've been waiting for with a lot of these movies. And, it's why I started watching Hallmark, for that kind of movie. And so I would love to see us represented in that way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, give me like a fun summer wedding planner who's unlucky in love movie, or she's jilted at the altar or something. Like, come on now. Give me
I
something fun.
know.
I mean, like I think Dory said it earlier, like we're not reinventing the wheel here. Okay, just give us a fun, fresh perspective on something that's been done 1,000 times. But I mean, come on, just make it funny. Just make it funny.
Totally. I want to laugh. I want to swoon.
Yes.
I
And
don't
I
want my
want Antonio to be in
anxiety
it.
to
Where's
be off the
Antonio,
charts.
guys?
It's only been chilling, and where
I would
where
love
you
to see
at?
Antonio
We want
or
Antonio.
Jamie or,
We have a lot of people
Jamie.
like that's been like on the DL.
Yes.
Mhm.
Hallmark, get it together.
We should ask Antonio to join us for an episode. I have a
We
feeling he would
should.
love to talk to
I would
us.
swoon the whole time because y'all know he's my favorite Hallmark hunk to this day. Even though he has not been doing Hallmark, he's still my
I
hunk. Every time
know.
the girls on Twitter are like, "Who's your favorite Hallmark hunk?" and no shade, but it's always a list of white actors. I'm like, Antonio, girl.
I know. He's the best.
He's
He's
the
great.
best. He's so sweet. Well, listeners, hit us up. We would love to hear from you. What were your thoughts on Spring Breakthrough? Leave a comment on Hallmarkies on Apple Podcasts. Tell us your favorite premiere that's happened this year. Like, what's been your favorite? We would love to hear all the deets and what you're excited for the summer, or what would you enjoy to see from Hallmark this summer. We'd love to know. Anne, can you take us out, please?
Yes, I can. Okay. So, Bree, where can people follow you?
I'm on Instagram and the Twitter at Bree unabashedly.
Okay. And Jazzman, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Shreem16, SHREEM16. And also, last shout out, the movie, music, and fashion was everything. Just letting y'all know.
Yeah.
And Dory, what about you?
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Dory Benford. And also on Twitter, you can follow me at All the Feels Pod. Yeah.
I'm so ready for All the Feels to
Great.
come back. I'm going to need y'all to stop with these breaks.
I know.
I'm
with
so
our long
salty.
hiatuses. I
I'm
know.
so salty
Well,
every time.
you heard it here first. You might be hearing something in the next month or so. So
Thank you. Okay, just do it for
Okay.
me, my selfishness.
Yes, keep your eyes and ears peeled for that.
Yay.
That sounds good. We look forward to that. We'll be keeping our eyes peeled, Dory, for that.
Okay, good.
And you can follow me at awscott21 on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast all over social media. If you're listening on iTunes, please leave us a rating and review. And if you're listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We also have a Patreon group, which you can check out and join for as low as $2 a month. That has monthly watch-alongs. And also we have our merch store with TeePublic, so make sure you check that out for mugs, totes, and things like that. And we look forward to when they announce the next Mahogany movie. Thank you guys. Have
Thank
a
you for
good day.
listening.
And
Bye.
let us know your thoughts on the movie. You can just comment on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Let us know what you thought.
Yes, we're here.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.